The dedicated space, high bandwidth, redundant power supply, support availability for all the teams like monitoring teams, OS team, database team, storage team, NOC, NOC, network operation center, security team, data center operation team. There are so many teams are involved. We need a lot of support. Capacity planning. Capacity planning. How many servers required? How many storages required? How many switches? How many routers required? That is called capacity planning. Higher maintenance effort. You have to maintain all the infrastructure by yourself. Time consuming. This is the main factor. You cannot build a data center within 1 day or 1 week or 1 month. It may take more than 6 months, 8 months also to build a data center. Leadership experience. As a CEO, you need to have knowledge on all the technologies. So these are the problems with the physical data center. What are the and who are the cloud service providers we have? AWS, Amazon Web Services, Google Cloud, Azure, Oracle, IBM, Salesforce, all these are cloud service providers. Again, the clouds has been classified as two types, private cloud and public cloud. What is private, what is public, we'll discuss later. Now, types of cloud computing. Those are public cloud, private cloud, hybrid cloud, multi-cloud. These are comes under types of cloud computing. You know what is public cloud? Public cloud owned by the third party, operated by the third party, deliver all the computing resources. The meaning of computing resources, servers, storages, network switches, routers, racks, all these are computing resources. In order to access any resource, the resources in the public cloud, you must have internet connection. Without internet connection, you cannot access any resources in the public cloud. For example, just hold on. In year 2000, Gmail, people are thinking that cloud is a recently 5 years back, 7 years back, 10 years back they introduced. But cloud was there since from 2003. Cloud was there since from 2003. That is called Gmail. Gmail introduced a cloud. Why Gmail we called as a cloud? We don't know where the mail server. We don't know where the web server. Gmail.com not only mail server. Gmail.com is a web server. Gmail.com is application server. Gmail.com is a DNS server. DNS for name resolution. Name resolution means what? Without knowing the IP address of gmail.com, you are able to access gmail.com. Gmail.com also a web server. Why? Because gmail.com provides the web pages. Where these web pages are hosted in the web server. Gmail.com also application server. Why it is called application server? Application server requires credentials, login name and password. So we are providing the username and password. That is because of that is called application server. Gmail.com is also a mail server. We are able to send the mails, receive the mails. So Gmail introduced the first cloud computing, that is called gmail.com. We don't know where the mail server. We are able to access the mails, we are able to send the mails, receive the mails. But in order to access gmail.com, what do you require? You need a internet. Instead of setting up my own mail server for my organization, in Windows, in Unix, we call it send mail server. What is send mail? To set up the mail server in Linux. Sunmail, Qmail, all these are mail services to set up the mail servers in Linux. In Windows, we have Office 365, Microsoft Office 365 to set up the mail server. Rather than setting up mail server in your own infrastructure, in your data center, I can use this mail services from Gmail. That is also cloud. That is also called cloud services. That is also called cloud services. Google Drive. Google Drive also one of the example for cloud services. We need internet connection. So any kind of cloud computing, public cloud means what? We need internet access. So with the public cloud, basically gmail.com in cloud, we can share the software resources, we can share the hardware resources. We can access software resources, we can access hardware resources. Gmail.com only to access the software resources like mails. Mails are software resources. But AWS, Azure, not only software resources, they're going to provide hardware resources also, like servers, storage, switches, routers, all this infrastructure they're going to provide. That is called public cloud. All this managed by the cloud vendor. You can access these resources and manage your account by using web browser. So to access any kind of resources, either software or hardware resources, we have a web browser. We call it as a API. API stands Application Program Interface. In the first class, we discussed that APIs are developers, UI developers, user interface developers. They are going to write the APIs. So we have a lot of APIs. While log into the AWS, it asks for username, password. That is one API. If you launch instance, that is one API. If you terminate the instance, that is one API. The number of APIs are configured. With the help of APIs, we can access any resources, the resources in the cloud, either software or a hardware resource. Most of the people think that AWS only graphical mode. Yes, it always graphical mode, user friendly, like Microsoft. Apart from that, we can also use CLI, command line interface. We have both graphical and command line interface. But 90% we always use graphical. We don't require command line. Private cloud. Private cloud refers cloud computing resources exclusively by a single business or organization. I have a company. Some of the applications we never deploy on public cloud because public cloud there's no security. Because someone is maintaining your database. Someone is maintaining your storage, third party. The banking sectors like SBI, ICICI Bank, Axis Bank, most of the banking sectors, they never keep the database or data in the public cloud. They want to keep the data in the private cloud. There's no company without a public cloud, without a private cloud. IBM, they have their own private cloud, they have their own public cloud. There's a concept called IBM cloud. IBM, they have their own cloud. What is that? That is called private cloud. Red Hat Linux, they have their own private cloud. VMware, they have their own private cloud. Oracle database, they have their own private cloud. So some applications which are running on the private cloud, some are running on the public cloud. So this private cloud can be physically located on the company on-site premises. This is called on-premises, on-site premises. So the difference between public cloud and private cloud, in order to access the resources in the private cloud, we don't require internet connection. May or may not, it's not a mandatory. But public cloud required internet. Without internet, you cannot access the resources in the public cloud. So every company, they have, most of the clients are banks. So the banks, they never go for public, they'll go for private. So there's no company without a private cloud, without a public cloud. This architecture we discuss later in AWS. Hybrid cloud. Hybrid cloud is a combination of public and private. Just now I told you that every MNC company, they have their own private cloud, they have their own public cloud. Some applications are running on the private, some applications are running on the public. Banking applications always runs on the private. E-commerce websites always runs on the public cloud. So the combination of private and public, we call it as a hybrid cloud. So recently, I'm with the support for AWS and DevOps. Recently, one of the students, they are given the task saying that migrate 5,000 virtual machines from physical data center to cloud data center. 5,000 virtual machines. Asked to migrate from physical data center to cloud data center. So physical data center, we have a private cloud. So this is the private cloud, this is the public cloud. She is working for IBM. She is working for IBM. Here we have number of VMs, more than 20,000 VMs are there, 30,000 VMs are there. So that's to migrate all these VMs from private cloud to public cloud. So we have so many third-party softwares in AWS. We'll discuss later what are those third-party software, how to migrate these VMs from private cloud to public cloud. So this is the called hybrid cloud. Some are running on private, some are running on public. 2 days back, I started this migration. Still it's going on. Because while migrating, there are so many issues. We have to resolve everyone. Each and every issue we have to resolve. It is taking only from past 2 days, you just migrate only 3,000 VMs. 2,000 VMs are pending. That is called hybrid, the combination of private and public. Hybrid, this is called hybrid cloud. So this is my public and this is my private. Here I have my database server, MySQL. I can use MySQL, I can use Oracle database. There are two types of databases, SQL databases, NoSQL databases. SQL and NoSQL database. What are those SQL databases? What are the NoSQL databases? Where we use, why we use? We'll discuss later. We have a separate service for that RDS, Relational Database Service. In AWS, we have Relational Database Service. There we discuss what is this SQL database, what is NoSQL database. So most of the companies they use MySQL. MySQL because of MySQL is open source code, no license required. So this is my database server which the IP address is 202.141.21.4. Every service has a port number. MySQL port number by default 3306. This is the default port number. If you want, you can change that. That will discuss how to change this port number while discussing RDS. So here in public cloud also we have a database. In public cloud also we have a database. But there should be synchronization between these two databases. Okay. And here we have a Tomcat server. I told you that what is Tomcat? Tomcat is application server. So we have so many app servers here. Now this Tomcat server want to access the database in the private cloud. So this is the public cloud, this is the private cloud. How it is possible? We have a concept called AWS direct connection. AWS site-to-site connection. VPN stands virtual private network. AWS transit gateway. These are the services where we can integrate your public cloud with the private cloud. In AWS, to access the private public cloud, to access these resources public cloud, we have a concept called IAM, Identity Access Management. To access these resources in AWS Cloud, you require a IAM, Identity Access Management. You need to have account, username, password. To access the resources in the private cloud, again we require authentication, username and password. The username passwords of private cloud is different. The username credentials for public cloud is different. The credentials for public cloud is different. The credentials for private cloud is different. So are we going to give separate credentials for public cloud, separate credentials for private cloud? Not required. We have a service called, in Windows, we have a service called Active Directory Service. We have a service called Active Directory Service. In Active Directory Service, what are the credentials we have in the public cloud? Those credentials we are going to add in Active Directory Service. So that with a single signature, with a single credentials, we are able to access the public cloud and private cloud. So that is called hybrid, multi-cloud. Multi-cloud is a strategy where an organization leverages two or more computing platforms to perform various tasks. So do you think that IBM they have only AWS cloud? Do you think that Cognizant they have only Azure cloud? They are going to use multi-cloud. Multi-cloud means what? Some applications are running on AWS, some are running on Microsoft Azure, some are running on Google Cloud. So tomorrow you joined as a AWS DevOps engineer, but when the project is running on Azure, they'll give the training, they'll give the KT. KT stands knowledge transfer. They're going to provide the KT on Azure. What applications are running, what services you have to use, what problems, what issues you are going to face. They're going to provide the KT. So you need not learn all this cloud computing. Learn perfect only one cloud computing. The remaining cloud computing technology you can learn in the company itself. So be strong in the one cloud computing. Like for example, if you are strong in Red Hat Linux, you can work on Ubuntu Linux. You can work on Fedora Linux. You can work on SUSE Linux if you're strong in Red Hat Linux. Similarly, if you're strong in one cloud computing, it is easy to understand, easy to operate, easy to understand, easy to work other cloud computing services. So this is called multi-cloud. Every company has more than one cloud. Suppose the client asking that I need that application, I don't want that application on Linux server, I need that application on Windows server. If you go for Azure Cloud, what is Azure Cloud? They'll give the Office 365 as a free of cost. They'll give the offer. Microsoft, they have their own operating system. Microsoft, they have their own mail server. Microsoft, they have their own virtualization. Microsoft, they have their own database. Microsoft, they have their own cloud. They'll give some offers. If you are using my cloud computing, Azure Cloud, I'll give these services as a free of cost. Just for some applications running on Azure Cloud, some are running on GCP. GCP very rare. 80% market share is for AWS, and 15% market share is for Azure, and 5% market share for Google Cloud. So this is called as a multi-cloud. Now coming to the cloud services models. It's very, very important. What are these cloud services models? Where we use, why we use, when we use. One is ES stands infrastructure as a service, PaaS platform as a service, SaaS as software as a service. In AWS, everything is a service. Before learning AWS, first you need to understand that AWS, everything is a service. We have one more service called anything as a service or everything as a service. Your IP address is a service, your server is a service, storage is a service, network is a service. So all are services. So these are comes under types of services models. So coming to the on-premises data center. Non-premises data center, just now number of times we discussed. We need a networking, switches and routers, we need a storage, we need a virtualization team, we need operating system, we need middleware, runtime, database, all this maintained by yourself. What is the advantage of on-premises data center? You have physical access of all these resources. You have physical access of all these resources. You can manage yourself. Don't be depend on any third party. Everything is owned by you. You are the owner for all this infrastructure. But disadvantage, capital expenditure, operational expenditure. Huge investment is required. So what is this infrastructure as a service? You know that what is meaning of infrastructure? All the hardware components we call infrastructure. Storage boxes, the hardware. Servers, also hardware. Virtualization, also software plus hardware. Networking, also hardware. So what they're going to in infrastructure as a service, they're going to provide all the hardware to you. What is your job? Your job is install the operating system, install the middleware, install runtime, database, and application. All this going to maintain by customer, and these are maintained by the cloud vendor. So they are giving the infrastructure. Rather than you purchase the servers, you purchase the storage, you purchase switches and routers, and configure this hardware. Rather than that, you can take this infrastructure from the cloud. On top of that, what operating system you require install, what middleware you require you can install, what runtime, what database application. That means what we are going to manage only OS team, middleware team, database team, monitoring team, networking team, virtualization team, server and storage. All this maintained by the third party vendor. We are going to maintain only this. This is called infrastructure as a service. They provide only the infrastructure. What type of server you want, how much RAM you want, how many processor you want. Virtualization is by default. Even security is also by default, maintained by the even cloud vendor. This is called as a infrastructure as a service. Next, platform as a service. What is the meaning of platform? For example, I got a project. For the project, I need to arrange meetings with some clients. I can't arrange the meeting at my home. I need office. So immediately I cannot take the office. I don't have furniture. So what I can do is I can go to the high-tech city. There are some plug and play offices are available. How many seats you require? What type of infrastructure you require? Just plug and play, ready to use. That is called platform as a service. They're going to give hardware, they're going to give the platform in the sense operating system. To deploy that application, we need a hardware. To deploy that application, we need a networking. To deploy that application, we need a storage. To deploy that application, I need operating system, middleware, whatever you require. Everything is given, provided by the cloud vendor. What is your job? You just deploy your application. All these are ready-made. Just deploy your application. How much time it takes? Now, it won't take more than 1 day. If you go for physical data center, you have to set up everything. It may take more than 3 months, 6 months. But here, not more than 1 day. That is called platform as a service. So you have that application already developed. That is your application is in your laptop. Now I want to deploy that. I need a server, I need a storage, I need a network, I need operating system. Instead of instead of building the server by yourself, purchase the server, install the operating system, install the middleware. One physical server not enough. I have to purchase two physical servers for backup, for fault tolerance, for failover, for load balancing. I have to purchase two physical servers. It is not matter of 1 day, 2 days. It may take more than 1 month to set up everything. Rather than that, you can go for cloud. You can take the platform from the cloud. You just deploy your application. It won't take more than 1 day. That is called platform as a service. Software as a service. Everything is maintained by the cloud vendor. Then what is your job? You just create an account in AWS. Create account in AWS. What software you require, how much storage you require, what operation you require, what middleware is required, what database is required, everything provided by the cloud vendor. If you go for software as a service, no capital investment. No capital investment. Here you are creating an account in AWS which is free account for 12 months, for 1 year. Even account creation also free. Most of the services are free. Today, if I develop an application, I don't know that application is going to click in the market. Why should I invest? Why should I invest my investment on the physical infrastructure? Wastage of my money. I can take everything from the cloud vendor. All services are free. After 3 months, 6 months, business running well, application running well, then you can purchase the service, whatever you want. So there is no capital infrastructure. Even 1 rupee also you are not paying. Do you require any premises for this? Do you require any infrastructure for this? I can start my business by sitting at home. With laptop, I can start my business. I don't require to purchase any server. Laptop is good enough. In DevOps, we have a concept called Sonar Cube. Sonar Cube is the one of the tool to analyze the source code. You want to set up the Sonar Cube. I require minimum 8 GB RAM. I require minimum 8 GB RAM. But my laptop doesn't have 8 GB RAM. So what I can do is I can take this server from the cloud with 8 GB RAM. How many processors you require? You want 2 processor, 4 processor, you can take the server from the cloud. That means what? You are taking the platform. You are taking the platform as a service. Then configure Sonar Cube, the server in AWS. So platform they're going to provide you. You just install the software, configure software. That is called platform as a service. You don't need to purchase the server for 8 GB. Only for Sonar Cube, you don't need to purchase the server. You can take the server from AWS. That is called platform as a service. Suppose you don't know how to configure Sonar Cube, you don't know how to configure Jenkins, you don't know how to configure Jira, where these tools require more than 8 GB RAM. Purchasing a server not a matter. You can purchase, but need to configure. You need to configure Jenkins, you need to configure Sonar Cube. You are not aware of Linux administration. You don't know how to set up, you don't know how to install the packages, you don't know how to configure packages, how to configure services. You don't know how to start the services. Because you are not Linux admin, you are the DevOps engineer. You know only how to deploy the application. You know only how to analyze the application. In that case, I can go for software as a service. That means what? If you go to the sonarcube.org, everything is ready-made. The server is ready-made. You just deploy your application. deploy application, and analyze your source code. That's it. There is no manual configuration. That is called software as a service. Everything they're going to provide you. The service up and running. You just deploy it, test it. That's it. A mail server also software as a service. We don't know where the mail server, somewhere in the world, they are using that mail server as a software as a service. So before we go for cloud, as a cloud admin, you need to understand where we have to use infrastructure as a service, where we have to use platform as a service, where we have to use software as a service. I have given a lot of examples. You are not good at Linux administration, go for software as a service. Everything is ready-made. You are good at Linux administration, you are good at DevOps, but I need a server. Then go for platform as a service. That is up to you. If you're strong in the AWS, I can go for software as a service. If I'm strong in Linux administration, I can go for platform as a service. That's why for AWS admin, you need to have strong on Linux administration. Though it is not required, basic commands is enough, but admin is not required. But when admin required, where sometimes you want to install the software, sometimes you want to install the packages, sometimes you have to configure services, sometimes you have to start the services. Sometimes you have to extract some packages which are jar, which are tar format, which are .zip format. Sometimes you have to download some software from internet. It is a command line, it's not a graphical mode. If it is Windows, anything we can download. Google Chrome, web browser. But Linux, there is no web browser, there is no graphical mode, everything is command line. So how do you download the software from internet? In command line. All this stuff will be discussed in the Linux administration. If you are strong in Linux administration, AWS is nothing. Any questions? So tomorrow we'll discuss about this virtualization, regions. Okay, fine. See you tomorrow, same time.